This episode is sponsored by Kinsta. Between juggling client meetings, managing your website, and keeping up with everyday tasks, who has the time to stress out about website security? Well, with Kinsta, the technical stuff is taken care of, so you can focus on what you do best. Kinsta provides managed hosting for WordPress, offering lightning-fast load times, top-tier security, and unmatched human-only customer support. Whether you're a business owner, web developer, or running a digital agency, Kinsta makes managing your website easy and efficient. Kinsta provides enterprise-grade security, being one of the few hosting providers for WordPress with SOC 2 and other certifications, guaranteeing the highest level of security for your website. Thanks to their unlimited free expert-led migrations, Kinsta ensures a smooth transition for you from other hosting providers. Customers have reported 200% faster load times post-migration to their platform. What I find cool about Kinsta is their fast and reliable customer service and premium features that are included at no extra cost. Ready to experience Kinsta's hosting for yourself? Get your first month free when you sign up at kinsta.com today. That's KINSTA.com. This episode is brought to you by PropelOff. People take authentication for granted, but it's more than how customers log into your product. It's how you manage your relationship with your users. The easiest way to make authentication your advantage is to use PropelOff. PropelOff is more than just functional. It's powerful. With tools like Managed UIs, Enterprise SSO, robust user management features, and actionable insights, PropelOff adapts as your product grows. And the best part? When off is effortless, your team can focus on scaling, not troubleshooting. That means more releases, happier customers, and more growth for your business. Save dev time, win over your customers, and propel your business forward with PropelOff. Check them out at propeloff.com. That's PROPELAUTH.com.
And so I approached UCSB. Why can't you put better technology in all of our classes? And why not Slack? They kindly sat me down and walked me through the logistical hell. They basically said, it sounds good in theory, but it would never work because Slack isn't built for schools. And I said, but what if it was? If you had a magic wand and you actually could make a platform like this that scales across the entire campus, integrates with all the technologies that you currently use, what would it look like? Tell me and I'll build it. And that's exactly what we did. My name is Kavitta Ghai, and I am the co-founder and CEO at Nectar.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
A company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve more.
I was proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was a
Yes,
pain.
we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time. The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it.
It's not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story. I'm your host, Noah Laupart, and today how Kavitta Ghai is building the classroom of the future with personalized AI assistants supercharging your success. This episode is sponsored by Speakeasy. Grow your API user adoption and improve engineering velocity with friction-free integration experiences. With Speakeasy's platform, you can now automatically generate SDKs in 10 languages and Terraform providers in minutes. Visit speakeasy.com/codestory and generate your first SDK for free. This message is sponsored by QA Wolf. QA Wolf gets engineering teams to 80% automated end-to-end test coverage and helps them ship 5 times faster by reducing QA cycles from hours to minutes. With over 100 5-star reviews on G2 and customer testimonials from SalesLoft, Drata, and AutoTrader, you're in good hands. Join the Wolfpack at QAWolf.com. Kavitta Ghai realized at an early age that she thought different than everyone else. She grew up neurodivergent with autism and ADHD, but she was a lucky kid, having parents that helped her see the silver lining in her learning challenges, making sure that she had outlets in extracurricular activities. She's a creative person, always looking to build something that doesn't exist. And in her off time, she enjoys turning off all the tech, learning a new language, and reconnecting with the real analog world. Kavitta and her co-founder found themselves frustrated with the classroom in college. For paying such an exorbitant amount of money, they were confused why the educational classroom was so ineffective. It came to a head, to the point where Kavitta was going to change it or drop out of school. This is the creation story of Nectar.
So my co-founder Jordan and I started Nectar about 7 years ago when we were undergrad students at UC Santa Barbara. And for us, it was really born out of the frustrations that we were having with the classroom. We just couldn't understand why we were paying so much money for an education that, frankly, we felt like we could go get on Google or YouTube ourselves. And everything interesting was happening outside of the classroom. And for me personally, having ADHD and autism, no classroom that I had ever been in before felt comfortable for me or my brain to be in. And then I got to college and started paying $40,000 to be really uncomfortable. And that's finally when it became enough of a pain point for me that I said, either I'm going to drop out or I'm going to do something about it. I was taking a class over the summer that was taught by a grad student instructor. Because he was a student, he innately understood the problems that we were having. So he said, email isn't working, because it wasn't. He said, I don't want you to have to wait 2 days to get a response from me or the TA. I understand that you guys have other stuff to do, so I know that sometimes you can't come into office hours. But most importantly, no one's asking questions in class anymore. We've just created a culture where you don't raise your hand anymore because you're afraid you're going to say something stupid. So he started a Slack group chat for all of us. And he said, we're going to do things completely differently. Instead of making it cheating, I actually want you guys to be the ones to help each other. So your job is to serve as this resource for one another. And if you answer someone else's question really well, I'll give you extra credit for it, because it lets me know that you understand the material deeply enough that you can then turn around and teach it to the person next to you. Him creating this community around the learning experience was the first time that I had seen someone use technology to finally upgrade this 400-year-old classroom model that we've had forever. I was like, that was it. Put Slack in all of our classes and it'll solve half the problems that we're having. And so I approached UCSB and I said, somebody please explain to me, if me and 26,000 other people are paying you $40,000 a year, why can't you put better technology in all of our classes? And why not Slack? They kindly sat me down and walked me through the logistical hell of putting a separate Slack workspace in 1,500 classes every quarter, teaching professors who are on average 55 how to use an enterprise level tool that they probably haven't seen before, and then paying an enterprise level cost for 26,000 students. They basically said, it sounds good in theory, but it would never work because Slack isn't built for schools. And I said, but what if it was? If you had a magic wand and you actually could make a platform like this that scales across the entire campus, integrates with all the technologies that you currently use, is affordable, what would it look like? Tell me and I'll build it. And that's exactly what we did. My co-founder and I spent the next 2 years working with the instructional design department, every professor who would take our call or open the door when we knocked. And we just asked them, what would it take to make this work? A Slack for schools type of technology that allowed students to get 24/7 support in every single class. 2 years later, and in fact, a week before COVID hit and everything went remote, UCSB came to us and said, hey, in about a week, this entire campus is going to go home and we're going to have to go completely remote. Do you think you guys can help us do that and be the official chat platform throughout that time? You don't say no to your first customer. So we said yeah, and we hired some engineers on Upwork literally 24 hours later. And a week later, we got all 20,000 students at UCSB onto Nectar basically overnight, and we became the official way that UCSB scaled remote learning. A year later, they signed a 10-year contract. We kept building this tool over the last couple of years, and it was working. Schools were adopting it, it was going well, but it wasn't flying off the shelves. Around 2023, we developed our first AI feature. It was an AI teaching assistant that sat inside of every Nectar class channel, and teachers could go and upload the syllabus, the textbook, basic RAG, and it was document only. And so teachers felt comfortable because it was an easy way to start with AI, where it wasn't using the LLM, it was just trained on their own course material, And students could go and ask their AI TA a question any time of the day and know that they were getting the right answer. And people loved this feature. And so much so that around October of 23, Stanford GSB approached us and said, would you guys ever consider building an entire platform just out of those teaching assistants? Because we and a lot of other schools need some way to be able to take any LLM off the market, especially as new and better models emerge, train it with our own proprietary data and have it be completely FERPA compliant. And we need to be able to create essentially AI infrastructure that allows us to place these custom agents at the course level, the department level, even campus-wide. Basically, we know that we're going to need AI everywhere over the next couple years, and we need someone to help us scale that. When a customer like Stanford GSB comes to you, you don't say no. And they basically pulled what is Nectar AI today out of our hands. So we spent the next 6 months in private beta with Stanford GSB, Boston University, and LA Pacific University, and we decided we're going to take a risk with barely any runway left in the bank and build this brand new platform that is essentially AI infrastructure for higher education. In 6 months after launching it, we did as much revenue as we did for 6 years with our initial product.
I'm going to dive into different pieces of that story. And to start, I'm curious about, what you would consider the MVP, right? So that version where you launched before, or the version where it became more AI agentic, or further along, you tell me, but I'm curious about what you consider the MVP. And really what I'm looking for there is, how long it took you to build and what sort of tools you're using to bring it to life.
So with our very first product, Nectar Chat, neither me or my co-founder were technical, like zero experience at all. But we had read enough startup books like 0 to 1 to understand the basics of how do we build this business from the ground up. And looking back, my God, we knew absolutely nothing. And there wasn't even a business school at UCSB. But just kept following the intuition of what our users were telling us. And it was very driven by essentially the more interviews that we have with potential users, the more insight we can get into how to frame this product for them. The easiest thing that we could think of was to start with open source code. And that is exactly what we did. And we literally kept that same open source code with barely anything added on top of it for years. And what we realized through doing that is it's actually more important how you describe your product to your customers than how it actually functions or how you've built it. And that was a really important lesson to learn early on. I really thought this is basic open source code. Someone could just go host this themselves. Why would they pay us for it, let alone an entire university like UCSB? But the reason was not the technology itself. It's the implementation support that comes with it. It's the domain expertise of how to increase student engagement and how to integrate this with the LMS and the other tools on their campus. That's the stuff that they really care about and the services that you're offering on top of the product. I think that one of the best things that happened to us was being forced to start from a non-technical place and kind of having to duct tape together an MVP however we possibly could. And then for the first couple years, all that we could iterate was the way that we talked about the product. And over the years, we've taught ourselves everything we know. My co-founder is now a full-blown AI engineer and has basically built our current platform from scratch. But we still follow that exact same mentality. Anytime we're building something new, it is how fast can we possibly get out a duct tape version of this so that we can go start testing how our users respond to this, and in particular, figure out how are we going to frame this feature? What is the best way that we can speak about this feature, what we've built, in a way that will get our user to understand it and engage with it the way that we want?
Let's stay on that for a minute. I'm curious about decisions and trade-offs that you had to make, right? And those can range in lots of different ways, but I'm curious about a decision that you made that was really a cornerstone to how you were approaching it. And that could be, feature cut, that could be technical debt acceptance, all those sorts of things that you've got to cope with when you make the decision.
The biggest one that comes to mind is being brave enough to pivot. There was a moment when we were building, and I still remember my co-founder came over to my apartment and we sat there, and Nectar Chat, our initial product, was working. People were buying it. We had raised multiple rounds on it. But I looked at him and I said, if you could start over right now, would this still be the best solution to the initial problem? We had to have a very honest conversation with ourselves and each other and admit, no. What we built in 2018, it might be great and it might be selling, but it's a nice to have. Because there's a better solution that we could be building today to solve this problem of how do we give 24/7 personalized support to every single student to make college actually valuable for them. AI was just a better way to do that. And like I said, we had months of runway left in the bank, and we had just raised on our previous round. We had told all of our investors, we're sticking to Nectar Chat. This is what we're building. And so we really just had to trust ourselves and say, I think the market is pointing us in a different direction and we've got to chase that opportunity. And we did. And it was the best decision that we've ever made. And we're very lucky that we have investors that backed us all the way and honestly didn't even blink an eye when we pivoted. But I think it's really important for teams, especially now with how quickly technology is changing, to always take a step back every couple months and ask yourself the really tough question of, are we still married to the initial problem? Because that's really what you should always be focused on. Is what I'm building still the best way to solve that problem?
This episode is sponsored by Speakeasy. Whether you're growing the user adoption of your public API or streamlining internal development, SDKs can turn the chore of API integration into effortless implementation. Unburden your API users from guessing their way around your API while keeping your team focused on your product. Shorten the time to live integration and provide a delightful experience for your customers. With Speakeasy's platform, you can now automatically generate up-to-date, robust, idiomatic SDKs in 10 languages and Terraform providers in just a matter of minutes. SDKs are feature-rich with type safety, auto retries, and pagination. Everything you need to give your API the developer experience it deserves. Deliver a premium API experience without the premium price tag. Visit speakeasy.com/codestory to get started and generate your first SDK for free. This message is sponsored by SnapTrade. Link in user brokerage accounts and build world-class investing experiences with SnapTrade's unified brokerage API. With over $12 billion in connected assets and over 300,000 connected accounts, SnapTrade's API quality and developer experience are second to none. SnapTrade is SOC 2 certified and uses industry-leading security practices. Developers can use the company's official client SDKs to build investing experiences in minutes without the limitations of traditional aggregators. Get started for free today by visiting snaptrade.com/codestory.
I'm so pumped about my new offshore dev partner. I'm saving a ton, and they even signed an NDA. Wait, is that our financial statements on the internet?
My dev partner has great communication. They can acknowledge an issue or email message super fast after they run it through Google Translate, of course.
I have a call set up with my partner right now. Hey guys, are you there? Wait, did you just ghost me?
Ever been in these situations? Yeah, me too. That is, until I found Tekla. Tekla is world-class, nearshore talent for technology teams who demand the highest standards. The platform gives you access to over 50,000 vetted Latin America technology experts, including developers, designers, and IT professionals, all fluent in English and all in your time zone. In 7 days or less, you can have your tech expert hired through Tekla's fast, efficient hiring process, which helps you find and onboard top candidates. Get senior-level talent at competitive rates, often half the cost of hiring in the U.S., but aligned with U.S. work culture and time zones, making teamwork easy and productive. Hire the best tech experts today with Tekla. Learn more at tekla.io. That's TECLA.io. This episode is sponsored by Mailtrap, an email platform developers love. Try for free at mailtrap.io. That's mailtrap.io. Let's move forward. What I'm really curious about is roadmap, right? You've got, a piece of the product. It's working. You've pivoted. You're brave enough to pivot. I'm curious about how you built that roadmap. And to wrap in a box a little, what I'm really interested in is what did you do to decide? How did you decide? What was the next most important thing to build or to address with Nectar?
It's really interesting being an AI company right now, especially in education, because we can't exactly build everything that we want. If we could build the exact product that we wanted to, it would have all the bells and whistles in the world. It would be so technical. Wow, that sounds amazing. And I'm sure one day we'll get there. That's not what our customers are ready for right now. Our job is actually to be the first ones to usher in AI technology to the newest and earliest generations of our society, and to give them the AI literacy that they need so that they don't fall behind. Because I think that's one of the biggest issues that we might be facing right now is the technology that we're building and the people who are in the AI space. It is such a bubble, and it is a much smaller bubble than what we realize it to be. There are actually very few people in the majority of society who use AI tools on the day-to-day basis, who have enough AI literacy to understand how to safely and effectively use those tools. And I have a prediction it's going to bite us in the ass if we don't pour more time and energy into teaching students before they leave school all of these technical skills that they're now going to need in this AI-powered world. We have to follow where the culture is at right now. We have to meet these teachers and students where they are. And everything that we build has to be confirmed to us by our customers. Out of a lot of the startups that I talk to and see today, we have this philosophy more than anyone else I've seen of being incredibly close to our users, constantly being in contact with them literally every single day, observing the way that they're using the product, really putting it through a psychological lens of, is this how we want students to feel when they're using this product? Even thinking about things like, if we build this feature, is it going to make students more antisocial? Is it going to take too much of the critical thinking burden off of them that they start to lose those skills? So we have to be really careful and balanced of how quickly we build this product. And that's really what shapes the product roadmap. And so we have this very intense internal roadmap of where we hope that the product is going to be. But in order for us to be able to build those really technical pieces and get it there, we have to make sure that we deliver the AI literacy first, in order for our users to even be able to engage with this sort of ultimate personalized learning partner that we want them to have. And so what we do is we use the rule of 4. And basically that is, if in sales and discovery calls, we hear 4 separate customers ask about the same feature, that's when it gets put on the product roadmap. That really allows us to determine, is this something that has market viability and is worth it for us to put time and energy towards? Because we do have a small team and we have to be agile. But also, is this something that our customers could actually engage with because they have a deep enough understanding of AI right now to be able to use this feature that they're asking for? So there's a lot of human psychology that goes into building our product roadmap to be able to understand if we're building stage-appropriate features for our customer base, which is higher education.
So let's flip to team then. So I hear you saying we a lot. Tell me about how you built that team and what you look for in those people to indicate that they're the winning horses to join you.
I think it is the part of everything that we've built that I'm the most proud of. And I'm sure that there's so many founders and CEOs that say that. But truly, I don't know how we would do any of this without the exact team that we have today. It's also the part that I feel the luckiest about, because when Jordan and I started this company, he was 20, I was 21. We had no technical experience. Honestly, this was our first job ever, so we had no experience. And so I remember having this thought of, how am I going to convince the smartest people in the world to come join me in this insanely difficult fight of trying to change the face of education? What I realized, right now, people are looking for a way to be of service to their community and to the world around them. It really feels like something that I think is tugging on all of our hearts of, how can we make this world a better place? How can we start to solve some of these huge problems that we have to face every single day? Being able to be an incredible storyteller and really be able to share our mission and vision is what has allowed us to bring together truly what I believe are some of the smartest people in the world. And that also speaks to how we hire. We are fully remote, and we plan to stay that way forever, because it allows us to bring in talent from around the world. And so our team is everywhere, all over the US, Canada, Brazil, And our philosophy of the team is let's keep it as small as possible for as long as possible. It allows us to move incredibly quickly. And when you're competing with companies like OpenAI and Anthropic, you've got to be able to pivot on a dime and move really quickly. And so what I'm looking for in the hires that we bring on, whether they are technical or non-technical, is someone who has this deep, insatiable hunger for making the world a better place. Honestly, most times that looks like someone who's really pissed off about what the world looks like right now. I want that fire. That energy is what is going to fuel you through 14, 16-hour days for weeks and months on end. I need someone who is going to be in it for the long haul. And I go to schools like USC and UCSB, and I do a lot of these talks to the students on why should you start a company right now, and how do you find a startup that you want to work for? And one of the things that I tell them is, for someone like us, an early stage company, especially an early stage AI innovative company that's trying to change the world, what we're really looking for are people who are outside of that cookie cutter. It's people who, on paper, do not fit into a FANG company. Those are the ones that we want right now.
This message is sponsored by QA Wolf. If slow QA processes bottleneck your software engineering team and you're releasing slower because of it, you need a solution. You need QA Wolf. QA Wolf gets engineering teams to 80% automated end-to-end test coverage and helps them ship 5 times faster by reducing QA cycles from hours to minutes. With over 100 5-star reviews on G2 and customer testimonials from SalesLoft, Drata, AutoTrader, and many more, you're in good hands. Ready to ship faster with fewer bugs? Join the Wolfpack at QAWolf.com to see if they can help you squash the QA bottleneck. This message is sponsored by SnapTrade. Link in user brokerage accounts and build world-class investing experiences with SnapTrade's unified brokerage API. With over $12 billion in connected assets and over 300,000 connected accounts, SnapTrade's API quality and developer experience are second to none. SnapTrade is SOC 2 certified and uses industry-leading security practices. Developers can use the company's official client SDKs to build investing experiences in minutes without the limitations of traditional aggregators. Get started for free today by visiting snaptrade.com/codestory.
So then let's move forward. I'm curious where this comes into play, but I want to switch to scalability. Was this built with scale in mind from day one, or I'm curious really where scale has shown up and been something where you've had to fight it as you've grown? Do you have any interesting stories there?
Absolutely. And this was in the earliest days when Jordan and I were tinkering around building. It was like a couple months right out of college, and we were still just focusing on the MVP. Like I said, non-technical, really weren't moving fast. And so it's just me and him. We have no one else on the team, and we're just in the midst of building with UCSB. And we had gotten maybe a couple thousand out of the 26,000 students to start using Nectar on a daily basis. So it was going well, but nowhere near where we wanted the product to eventually be. And we had never, ever pressure tested it for thousands of users simultaneously using it. In February of 2020, UCSB came to us and said, "We need your help. We're about to go entirely remote in a week. Nobody knows that this is happening. We've had no preparation for this. And we need an official communication platform that takes us through however long COVID remote learning is going to last. Can you guys be that for us?" I still remember that call from them and looking at Jordan and thinking, oh, we do not have anything in place to be able to do this, but we can't say no. Not just for the fact that they're our first customer, but this is our alma mater, and they're about to go through something really tough, and we've got to be there for them. They literally are saying that they need us. This is exactly what we've built it for, to be able to help our community. We said, yeah. We had no idea how to even proceed at that point. I remember we had hired a DevOps engineer on Upwork within 24 hours, so obviously didn't vet them that well. But we just thought, okay, we have somebody here who maybe can help us out with this if something goes wrong. But I don't think we truly knew how wrong it was about to go. March of 2020 comes, remote instruction is about to start on Monday, And so Sunday night, they're telling us, okay, it's got to be ready to go. We're going to get everyone on there. And we didn't think students were going to all get on at once. It's Sunday night before school starts. We thought they were going to trickle in. No. Students were looking for a way to communicate because obviously they're sitting in their dorms or at home and they can't see each other. They're freaking out. They hear that this is the new way to chat with each other. And so literally 20,000 students got online onto Nectar Chat all at once. And the entire thing crashed and burned. And continued to crash and burn for the next week straight. And so imagine you've got a school of 26,000 really angry, really frustrated college students who are super sad. All that they could do was take out their energy on us. I have never received so many death threats in my life. People were so upset that it just kept crashing and it wasn't working. Luckily, UCSB was really patient with us. And I remember thinking back to this moment, it was the most anxiety I'd ever felt. And I thought, this is it. It's my first shot and we lost it. We're never, ever going to go anywhere from here. Nobody's going to buy this. UCSB is going to hate us. After all of this, a year later, UCSB ended up signing a 10-year contract with us. It actually did the opposite of hurting us. They were super happy that we just stuck it out and provided really high levels of customer service during this time. And that was a really incredible lesson of how critical good customer service is. It's actually good enough to make up for your product being offline for hours on end. That, I think, was probably the toughest lesson that we could have learned with our very first customer, especially just being a few months out of college and all of these people being our friends sitting at school who can't use it and hate us for it. But what an incredible lesson to learn early on. And it has truly shaped the way that we think about scalability because we went through the biggest crash and burn in our very first deployment.
So as you step out on the balcony, you look across all that you've built. What are you most proud of?
I am so proud of the actual change that we're making and measuring. Right now, with all of these really flashy, shiny AI tools, it can be really easy to think, yeah, we're changing lives, we're innovating, we're improving all of these functions. This is exactly the change that we were gunning for. We're making the world a better place. But you really have to measure that and make sure that you are. Not just measured internally, but ideally third-party measured, peer-reviewed, published case studies, published research studies. That, especially for us in education, that's exactly what you ride on. Because we can say all day long that we're providing 24/7 support to students in every single class. They have this personalized AI learning partner that, deeply understands their textbook, their syllabus, their assignments, and provides that support 24 hours of the day to them. And that sounds great, but is it actually having a statistically significant outcome on their GPA, on their retention rate, on the things that really matter most? Because if you're looking at the deeper part of the problem that we're solving, of providing student support, it's because 1 out of every 3 freshmen drops out before their sophomore year. It is insane to think about how many students we lose in our education system in the US. It makes zero sense to me. For a country that has this much money and this many resources, we should be doing better than everyone in the world when it comes to education. And we are far from that. And so it actually does matter how much of an impact we're having down to the exact decimal point. And so what I'm most proud of is in our very first deployment campus-wide of Nectar AI, we found a 20% increase in the GPA in students that used Nectar AI versus those that didn't. And not only that, there was a 13% increase in the final scores and a 36% increase in their intrinsic motivation to learn. We actually made learning fun for them. And that's incredible to me because even I haven't experienced that in a classroom before. So to see those results and to have them actually be measured by the school, and now that's a published research study, that is what I'm most proud of. And now that exact same study has led to us doing a statewide research study with the California Community College system. So we're measuring those exact same effects across all 116 community colleges in California. And so it's going to be the largest study of AI in the classroom to date.
Okay, let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
If I'm being completely honest with you, I can't think of one. Not because we're perfect. By no means are we perfect. But I truly don't see anything that we did as a mistake. Because while this has been an overnight success 7 years in the making, most important part of it for me and my team was the learning experience that we had along the way. Especially for my co-founder and I, for this being our very first job, this was the greatest education that we could have ever gotten in the world. It is getting your MBA from the School of Hard Knocks, but it is incredible. It is the most fun I've ever had in my life. The worst days are still incredible for me. So I honestly don't see a single mistake that we made. Every single thing had to happen exactly the way that it did for us to be exactly where we are today. Every single quote-unquote mistake that we made was actually just a learning lesson. That was a lecture that we were getting from the universe. And we took our notes, we took the exam, we aced it, and we moved on.
Let's move forward then. What does the future look like for Nectar, the product, and for your team?
We are so excited about what the future looks like. If you take this California community college deal that we're working on right now, for example, what I'm most proud of is the fact that we really stuck to our roots here. With all of the companies that are building AI, especially for education, I'd say, it is our responsibility to make sure that if we're not planning on further widening the equity and economic gaps that we already have in our society and in our education system, then these AI technologies that we're building should first be given to the students who typically get these technologies last. And those are students that are in the community college system. It's usually the Harvard, the Ivies, the Stanfords. Those are the schools that are the first to get these technologies and always are seen as the highest tech, highest value. But we're at a really critical juncture right now across all of society where the AI tools that all of us are building are only ever going to be efficacious if we teach people how to use them effectively. And even more so with students, we need them to be AI literate when they leave school because they're entering a workforce where they're going to be using those tools all day long, every day. And that's why you're hearing from employers over and over again that they're getting unskilled workers from college. And so I don't actually think that we're doing a good job at preparing them for the real world. In saying all of that, it makes me incredibly proud that we've been given this opportunity and we chose to go down the path of first working with the community college systems. California sets the tone for the rest of the nation. And so working on this statewide pilot and research study with them has led to us having conversations with Tennessee, Mississippi, North Carolina, Indiana, all of these other state systems that now are saying, if they can do it at scale across the state, so can we. We can also deploy personalized AI to all of our students and give them a completely unprecedented experience when it comes to student support and academic support. And so I am thrilled to see the scale that we've been able to reach on a state and sort of federal nationwide level. And especially, we just launched Nectar AI May of 2024. It has not actually been that long. So what I want other startups to hear in this is, even if you are very early on in your building journey, if you're truly building technology that changes and fixes some of the biggest problems that we're that we're facing in society today, there are people out there that are going to see what you're building and they're going to adopt it. They're going to pilot it, and it will make that change in your community and in your society. That is absolutely possible for you to do. So I want anyone listening to this who has it's been itching at them to solve some sort of problem that they keep seeing, go do it. Go try it. Because who knows, maybe you will be the one that actually changes everything. For us within the team, what we see Nectar turning into within the next 5 years is this completely personalized learning partner that you have for life. So imagine if from kindergarten all the way through to right now, you're out of school, you're in your job. What if there was basically like a Jarvis, your AI partner who stuck with you through that entire time, knew everything about you, your strengths, your weaknesses, areas of opportunity, your Achilles heel, all of the experience you've ever had, and could teach you every step along the way how to be a better you. That is where personalized learning gets really exciting for me, because now learning is happening outside of the classroom again. When we can influence people, the majority of society, to become lifelong learners, that is, I think, where we're all going to see society level up. Because education is the precursor to every major innovation we've ever seen, but it is also the best guarantee that we have for upward mobility. So if we want to see humanity level up, I believe it happens through education. And I don't think that's just education in the classroom. I think that's putting a personalized AI learning partner in the pocket of every single person in the country and around the world.
Let's switch to you. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to and why.
Two answers for this. Kind of my fluffy answer, and then this is who I'm actually looking at day to day. My fluffy answer is my parents. I think about this so often that this startup game that we're a part of was not built for people like me to play in. I'm first generation. I don't come from a wealthy family. My parents grew up in villages in India, like literally mud and straw house villages. And they came to this country when they were my age. For me, the kid that they didn't even have yet, but they knew they would one day, to be able to have this education in the US and to be given these opportunities. And to quite literally be living out the American dream for them is an incredibly motivating feeling. It is what fuels me every single day, because I just am in awe of the fact that a generation ago, my family was in a different country under entirely different circumstances with a fraction of the resources and freedom that they have today. And now, just a few decades later, here I am in a position to be able to raise millions of dollars to be able to go change the world. That is my motivating factor every day, to watch how they never stopped working for me to have this life. I believe that it's on me to fulfill that work that they've done, to make it worth it every single day. And then on a day-to-day basis, the founder that I am most impressed with right now, that I just love the work that they're doing, is Danielle Fong from Lightcell. She's building, in her own words, a portable Dyson sphere powered by light. And I think that the issues that we have around energy, it's one of the biggest issues that we're all facing that we're going to need to solve really quickly. And so to see, first of all, female founders that are out there raising money and building some of the most innovative technology that we've ever seen, things that I can barely understand and wrap my mind around. It's amazing, but also I love it because I really admire the founders that are solving the really big problems. The one that no one else wants to touch because it just feels like it's too hard to do. And so to see Danielle taking this on and really saying, no, it's time for us to figure out how to find an energy source that actually works with our modern day society, that isn't going to kill the earth. That's what we need. And I truly think she's solving the biggest problem that we all have right now.
Last question, Kavitta. So you're getting on a plane, sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world, and can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
Remember to stay married to the problem that you set out to solve and not the solution that you initially built. Especially for first-time founders, I think it can be really easy to get emotionally tied to the idea and the first thing that you build. If you're not in constant communication with your users, and if you're not on top of that, asking them the hard-hitting questions of, hey, tell me what you hate about what I just built, you're never really going to be able to figure out what they want. There is an art to being able to build the technologies that will fuel our future, and part of it is leaving your ego at the door. Because we are simply conduits of these solutions. It is not our identity that is tied to the code or the product that we've built or how many users or customers or revenue that we have. If you really want to make change happen, you've got to stay married to solving that initial problem. And I think that's exactly why we've been able to come this far today, is because after 6 years of building Nectar Chat, we had the courage to be able to leave our ego at the door and say, I don't actually think that's the best way to solve that problem anymore. I think there's probably a better way for us to do it. And yeah, we're going to have to work really hard and really fast to make it happen, but it's worth it. It's not about the product that we built or spent so long selling or nurturing. What we're doing here is about the students and the teachers that we want to help. It's about making sure that no one ever feels the way that I did in a classroom ever again. To that person on the plane next to me, I want them to know, I'm proud of you. Good job for putting out something into the world, because that is the most important part, is just build it. Just get it out there as fast as possible. But always stay married to the problem that you set out to solve.
I think that's fantastic advice. Well, Kavitta, thank you for being on the show today, and thank you for telling the creation story of Nectar.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Noah. It's an honor to be on the show and had a great time with you, so thanks.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.